Hey guys, it's Ryan here with HobbiesofaMan once again, and today we're doing another comic book review. So, just a quick reminder, I did move. I do have a new setup. It's probably going to be this for the, remainder of time while I live here. But if you guys want a more detailed update on, how I've been doing in the last couple of weeks, there is a video for that already. It should be out on the channel by the time that this one comes out. So, but today we're looking at Fantastic Four. This is the Penguin Random House Marvel collaboration, or the Penguin Classics Marvel Collection, book 1, I think. Actually, it might have been Spider-Man that came out first, but I do think that this is probably the one that should be collected first if you're collecting it, because this is the original superhero family, right? And this is a really beautiful book. It has a really nice rubberized texture. It has this really beautiful gold foil on it. I don't think it's actually gold, but it's like gold painted. And it looks great. I just really love how these look. They have a very nice feel to them, a very nice vibe. I just love it. And the paper inside is actually really beautiful. It has these really nice end sheets here as well. Namor, the Skrulls, Galactus, Doctor Doom, they're all featured there. And the paper inside has this kind of like vellum quality. It has a silky, rubbery kind of texture to it, which is a very beautiful texture. It really feels wonderful to read this and to look at this. And these are kind of odd. They have a different sizing to them because comic books used to be printed in a different size. And the recreations there are really beautiful. It's not necessarily exactly the same as the original comic book looked, as far as I understand it, but it looks real good anyways. And it's very interesting. This is a really good collection. So, obviously, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby were the creators of the Fantastic Four. They wrote through most of the issues that are featured here, although I think Roy Thomas definitely had a bit to say in this at some point in the writings of Fantastic Four, but I can't remember exactly if that's true or not. And then it has words by Jerry Craft and Ben Saunders. So Jerry Craft is a illustrator and best-selling author of different graphic novels. He is an African-American writer, and he has something to say about this early on. If I remember correctly, he had a foreword here. And then Ben Saunders is the editor for this collection. So I don't know if we're going to have more of these. There's currently 6 out. There's Fantastic Four, X-Men, Avengers one, so those are the team books. And then we have Spider-Man, Black Panther, and Captain America. Now, I would love an Incredible Hulk one. I think that'd be pretty cool. And then maybe there's other characters that could, function within this, collection. But I'm not really sure what those would be. I'm not a huge Marvel guy, but I do think that there should be some DC equivalent of this as well. So I would love to see the Penguin Classics DC collection with Superman's, Batman, Wonder Woman, and a few other characters like that. Probably the Justice League team, and then a Teen Titans one later on, right? That'd be kind of cool. But I'm not sure if that's going to work because DC just launched their new, what are they called? Their Finest collection or whatever, like their equivalent of the Epic collection. And a lot of that is the same stuff that I just mentioned. So, yeah, but this is pretty cool. It's published by Penguin, like I said. Really lovely little stamp there. It looks great. The genre for this is sci-fi drama. And I guess superheroes is actually the overarching, genre. But the story is a sci-fi story. It's about 4 family members dealing with different sci-fi shenanigans that happen throughout their life. And it's also a lot of melodrama and a lot of family drama that is almost soap opera-esque. And I think that that's just kind of classic Stan Lee back in the day. And the genre here, the demographic here, I would say is YA. There's nothing here that is particularly adult, but there's nothing here that is particularly young either. I think that this works for all ages. But I would call this a YA title because I think most people that read this were teens, right? YA demographic. In terms of adaptation, there's no exact adaptation of any of this, but a lot of different adaptations of the Fantastic Four idea have happened throughout time, right? There was an old show, there was a cartoon, The Incredibles technically is an adaptation of the Fantastic Four. There's stuff like the 2000s movies, there's the Fan Four Stick, and of course the new Fantastic Four First Steps, which I'm very excited about. I think that that's going to be a great movie. And a lot of that, I think, actually takes direct inspiration from some of the stuff that's in this. So this is a great preparation for that movie if you're interested in reading through it, right? And so in terms of a rating for this, I would give this a 3.5 out of 5. And this is not because the book is bad or the writing is bad. It's just because the fact that it's so old, I think it's 60 years old at this point, means that some of the ways that stuff is written is just not that interesting in a modern context, right? Or it's not that exciting because I already knew a lot of this going forward, right? And so this is a reflection of my personal knowledge of Fantastic Four and my personal taste in comic books. If you're an older person, you might like this more because it's nostalgic. You might like it less because, it's a Fantastic Four. I don't know. Everyone's going to have a different take on this. But my rating for the stories contained in here is a 3.5 out of 5. As we progress throughout the book, I think that kind of goes up, but it doesn't go up enough for me to change my rating. I would say that this is above average, and it's nearly amazing, but it's not quite there yet. And that's because the early issues are pretty rough. They're not really quite superhero material. They're not really quite soap opera material. They're somewhere in between. And the way in which the characters interact with each other doesn't really work for me all that well. So the idea of the Fantastic Four is they're a family, right? The thing is that at the beginning of the Fantastic Four, Reed and Sue are not married. The Thing, or Ben Grimm, is very angry, which is understandable, but also kind of unnecessarily overplayed. And it's kind of unclear if he's friends with Reed or just kind of forced into the situation, or if he just hates Reed, or if he's really just there so that he can try to steal Sue away from Reed. And then Johnny, of course, is a young teenage character, and he kind of comes off as annoying, although he's kind of cool anyways, even with his annoyance, right? And so the characters clearly have something going for them, but because of the first couple issues and the way that, Stan Lee is still trying to figure out how to write them, they don't come off as the most well-rounded characters yet. And so a lot of the situations that we find them in don't necessarily end up being all that interesting to me. However, the characters that they fight against are pretty cool. They're pretty interesting. We get Mole Man immediately. We get some monsters. We get the Skrulls in the second issue. We get Miracle Man. Issue 4 gives us the Submariner, which introduces this idea of Sue Storm having this character that she's in love with, or that she's in lust with, attracted to, that isn't Reed, but is not Ben Grimm either. So, Ben Grimm eventually also finds Alicia, but because of the way that this is organized, which is just kind of like the most groundbreaking elements of the story, after the 4th issue, we don't get to see any of the development between Sue, Reed, and the Submariner. And so when we see them again in later issues, I think we jump up to issue 10, we find Dr. Doom, we interact with him, and then we see him come back for a second round against the Fantastic Four. And then we jump away again all the way to issue 40, and then we finish off with issue 51, which is kind of like the proper issue for the Thing. And so the thing is, or the idea, or the reason why I gave this less than a perfect score, is because of those jumps, right? Like, understandably, that the point of this book is to show you the key milestone elements and how this affected comic book writing going forward, right? So it introduces the family concept. It introduces the melodrama soap opera aspect through the Submariner. It introduces Dr. Doom, who's the greatest villain or the greatest antagonist of the Fantastic Four. And then issue 10 brings him back for another adventure. And then issue 40 brings Galactus, the big main bad guy that is like one of the major players against the Fantastic Four, right? And then after that, the Thing comes up, and then Annual 6, which is the kind of Star Trek-esque adventure into the Negative Zone in order to find a special pill that will help Sue deal with her struggles through childbirth. And so, by the end of the book, we do have the first family of the Marvel Universe, but the way that the book is structured makes it so that you miss out a lot of those things, right? Which is fine, but that makes the storytelling aspect lower on my rating scale, which is why it's a 3.5 out of 5 instead of like a 4.5 out of 5, which is what I would have given it otherwise, right? Because I think that a lot of this is really great, and a lot of it is really well done, especially the later issues. Issue 5 is when we get the Doom time travel story. We get introduced to Doom. Issue 10 is much, much better, and at that point, the line work and the the flow of the story is much better. And then by issue 48, we get some awesome looking stuff here, and some great panel work and some great artwork from Jack Kirby, and especially because of his inker. I was gonna say liner. His inker, Joe Sinat, I think is his name, and he makes, you know, Jack Kirby's lines pop. He makes it look amazing, especially the way that at that point the Thing has a cemented look, which is the look that we have in Fantastic Four First Steps. The introduction of the child, which I think is supposed to be Franklin Richards, allows for the family to finally exist. And then at the end of this book, we actually get an extra issue, which is the first issue of the Submariner, the original 1930s version, which kind of introduces us to more of the Submariner and kind of gives us a bit more of an interesting look into that, right? And so this is an amazing introduction to the Fantastic Four. It's a beautiful book, but the first few issues are rough, and eventually it does become very good, but because of the structure of the book, which is understandable, you end up having these moments of like lack of development and this loss, because you only get to see the big snapshots or the meaningful snapshots, and you don't get to build the development, and so you don't get that catharsis or that kind of like hell yeah kind of moments when these characters interact in the way that you want them to, right? And so that's why it's a 3.5 out of 5 for me. But man, especially the later issue just looks phenomenal. Like, look at this, man. I love how Kirby draws, and I think that Joe Sinat does an amazing job at helping him look phenomenal. And those colors are just spectacular, amazing stuff. So, yeah, I'm definitely a fan of Fantastic Four. You know, I've always liked them. I think that they were cool. I liked the movies. I didn't really have any problems with any of them, you know, because I was not a comic book reader of the Fantastic Four. But this book, the introduction to the series, has made me a fan. I'm very much looking forward to the movie now, and I want to pick up more of them. I want to track down some of those Fantastic Four epic collections. I know it's going to be pretty hard to do so, but maybe I will get around to it. There's also some pretty good reading suggestions at the end of this book, which is really wonderful. I actually love that they did that. And let's see if I can read some out to you. So, obviously, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, Fantastic Four Omnibuses 1, 2, and 3. Then the Roy Thomas and Len Wein and George Perez book, The Fantastic Four, Volume 17. This is from Marvel Masterworks, which I think is a defunct line now. Then, I'm skimming through some of these. Jonathan Hickman wrote The Fantastic Four in 2010. The Omnibuses, Volumes 1 and 2 are recommended. Matt Fraction did a book called Fantastic Four and Family Freakout. And then we have some books for students and scholars as well, which is pretty cool. I do think that the Ryan North run right now is very popular, very good. And so I'll probably end up, you know, getting into that one, if anything, instead of some of the older ones. But I would love to pick up some of those epic collections here and there, maybe some of those master works, since many people are probably going to get rid of them since the line is defunct, but we'll see. But yeah, those are my thoughts here on Fantastic Four, the Penguin Classics Marvel Collection, Book 1. Actually, it's not Book 1, but whatever. But yeah, those are my thoughts on that. What do you guys think? If you've read this, if you have this, or if you're interested in picking it up, let me know down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and see you guys later.